Hey, hope you're doing well. It's a beautiful day. It's a hot day, hot and humid. I did trail maintenance today for like 3 hours and it was a lot of work, but we cleared 30 drain ditches on Ridgeline. Ridgeline's a very popular trail in DuPont for mountain biking. And they closed the trail so that we could do that this morning. It's so rewarding. I highly recommend if you're someone in my area and you can volunteer for Friends of DuPont Forest. I can't say enough about Lyle and Molly. They're just a beautiful couple, beautiful people, so kind-hearted. They had watermelon and Gatorades and water and granola bars for everybody. They do that every single trail maintenance day. And then the rangers come out and they're a plethora of information. And I call her Cookie Jane. Jane came out with homemade cookies. Molly had homemade walnut brownies. Like, they're just the nicest people. You get a free t-shirt. After a certain amount of volunteering, you get an official hat. And it's so amazing to give back. Really wonderful to give back. So I do like to brag about the Friends of DuPont Forest because they're just super, super cool people. They do invasive plant removal. They host classes if you become a member, and they do an all women's work day, trail maintenance, I think once a month. I think Molly leads that. And then they do their regular scheduled maintenance days. So just wanted to advertise for them a little bit because they always need help and they're deeply appreciative and just lovely human beings. I am drinking yerba mate. So I buy these little tea holders for dried tea leaves and I steeped it for about 5 minutes and then I was sweating like a mofo out there. So I normally don't drink iced drinks, but it was an iced drink kind of day. Yerba mate is an ancient Amazonian herb. It's really good for athletes, love it. Endurance, focus, concentration, energizing. If you're gonna do caffeine and you can't do coffee or you want a coffee alternative and you don't want to do mushroom coffee, which is all the rage, I highly recommend yerba mate. Hubie talks about it all the time, but yerba mate's been around forever. I want to talk a little bit about spirituality. So one of the guys that I did trail maintenance with today, older man, Miles, super nice guy. He's traveled all over the US. I loved hearing all of his stories. And you never know who you're going to meet. And he's a writer. And I love to write. And I was asking him about writing techniques and writing a book and just thoughts and ideas. And then he was a language arts major and I was a language arts major. So we're talking about our favorite poets and our favorite writers. And I learned so much from him, so we partnered up and we worked together all morning. You never know who you're going to meet. He gave me some really good tips about writing and how to become a published writer because that's basically his full-time job. And it was special, it was just a special morning. And he was talking to me about studying religion from all over the world. And what was interesting was I knew right away that we were like polar opposites and probably didn't have a lot of the same belief systems. And so like halfway through the morning, I was like, I just want to say this is so refreshing and nice because I believe in God. He's an atheist. I think he called himself a non-theist. And then he told, and I just asked questions. I got curious and I leaned into that and we had this whole conversation. And there was no arguing. There was no fighting. There was no I can't talk to you or be your friend because you're not aligned with me politically, and you believe in God and I don't. It was like two adults with diabolically opposed belief systems, and we had a great day together. And so I picked his ear. I was like, what's your most intriguing religion that you studied? And he said Scientology, which I thought was really interesting. And then we talked about the difference between like Western religions and Eastern religions, and we dove deep into spirituality. And then I was like, do you believe it's an accident that we met today and we were partnered up? And he's like, no. So like I worked to find common ground. He's from Alabama, and I was telling him how like the one thing that I've bumped up against living in the South is that Southern mindset, Northern mindset, very, very different. And so we talked about that. And one of the books that he wrote and published was about Southern families. And then he was like telling, and I was like, well, tell me about it. And he was telling me about the book, and I was like, honey pie, that's everybody's family. That's not just Southern families, that's everybody's family. But it was just so nice to have these conversations. And then, I told him that I had a yoga and wellness business, and Helene really impacted that. We're talking about stuff in that genre. And there's this guy that I follow on Instagram, and, part of why I stopped teaching in yoga studios was for this reason. And I ran in some pretty entrenched spiritual circles. I mean, I just did a post about this, like touching feet and bowing. And there was, my teacher used to take me to go see this guru, and you had to wear a sari to be in the presence of this guru. I met Amma. I have attended kirtan, very famous people. I've taken yoga workshops with very famous people, Wah and Sean Korn, and I went to Dharma Mitra's 70th birthday party in New York City. I went to the Open Center in New York City several times to take classes with famous people. I took an intensive with Tommy Rosen in New Hope, Pennsylvania, one of my favorite places to stay and visit. New Hope, the whole town is haunted if you've never been to New Hope, Pennsylvania. It is stunningly beautiful. And Lambertville, that whole Frenchtown, New Jersey, because you can go across the bridge and be in the two states in a nanosecond. Love that area. Jayutal, Deva Premal, and I needed to have those experiences, and I think they're all lovely people. But what I learned is there's so much spiritual masturbation and gymnastics, there's so much spiritual bypassing, and there is so much spiritual superiority, and it's kind of terrifying. And when I was at the height of serious complex post-traumatic stress from the divorce, and that's when all my Lyme symptoms expressed, which allegedly were laying dormant in me for a very long time. So I became chronically ill, like bedridden, riddled with pain, sicker than sick. My thyroid got all out of whack. I was just not in a good place, and my stress levels were through the roof. It was just complete anarchy and chaos with the divorce. And I was seeking, and I wanted help, and I wanted support. And I'm going to say this with a lot of confidence, and it's going to piss a lot of people off. And I pride myself on being a really grounded, practical, relatable teacher. And those were the only teachers that I stuck with. Susie McCrone, if you're watching me, you're my girl, and you're one of them. Love you. Denise Tranchino, same thing. I don't know, Denise, if you watch me, but you are one of my favorite teachers to this day. What a phenomenal human being, beautiful heart, and an amazing mentor. And I just adore you. And anytime you asked me to sub your classes, I was like, I'll never forget the first time I went home and I was like, Denise asked me to sub her class. Like, wow, She thinks I'm like worthy. She sees my value. She trusts me with her students. That's how much I value you, Denise. So much love to both you ladies. Very grounded teachers. Very grounded teachers. There's a lot of hoo-ha. And Jeff Brown, famous defense attorney in Canada, who left and became a psychotherapist, who left therapy and became a writer and a poet. And I found Jeff happenstance on social media. I love people who pivot and do not over-identify with any one thing and recreate themselves. And I just find those people to be transformational. Like my first homeopath, Dr. John Jenko, was like that. And I love those people. And I took a writing class with Jeff, and I won a free psychotherapy session with him, and his book Grounded Spirituality to this day is one of my favorite, and it saved me. You know, there's a lot of bullshit out there. And to this day, my favorite yoga is gym yoga. I love teaching in gyms. I taught in gyms. One of my favorite classes that I taught was heavy metal yoga. Yeah, baby, you gotta bring that back. Gotta bring back some of that metal. And I had people showing up with like leather pants and, you know, their metal shirts on and their bandanas, and we rocked it. It was so fun. Yoga should be fun, and it should be playful. It doesn't need to be all so serious and uptight, you know? And that's why I left studios, because I had had enough. I had had enough of all the namaste and, you know, love and light. And then I knew that teacher was an absolute asshole outside of the studio. And I was like, I can't do this anymore. You know, this isn't for me. And I want yoga in nature. That's where the asanas were birthed. The masters and the gurus and the ancient sages, they witnessed animals and nature, and they witnessed nature in and of itself. And that's where you get tree and mountain and cobra. And they used sacred geometry, trikonasana, triangle pose. And that's when I decided that I was going to have an outdoor wellness-based yoga business. And I think that people are starved for really grounded spirituality. And with my complex post-traumatic stress disorder, the actual thing that helped me, it wasn't all the yoga. And it wasn't all the spiritual events that I was attending, and it wasn't all the gurus that I met and bowed down to and touched their feet. None of that healed me. It was finding an amazing therapist who was a rock star guru at what she did. And it was classic cognitive behavioral therapy. And I worked with her for 2 years, and she helped me get well. She helped me get better. It was nothing in the spiritual world. If anything, that was driving things so much deeper, because there's so much bypassing and superiority. And more people have come clean in their personal experiences. I've had many people deal with a ton of abuse staying in ashrams, and ashrams is like bypassing. I just had a manager who would flip his lid over nothing, had zero emotional regulation ability. And he's like, yeah, I lived in an ashram in Colorado for a year. I'm like, what? Well, it didn't help you, brother. Like, where'd those skills go? So it's astounding to me. A lot of those people aren't who you think they are. It amazes me that people are seeking out these uber spiritual wellness retreats. You know, I don't know. I'm trying to be careful, which is hard because I just let it rip. And I'm trying to lead with grace here, but also it's applicable to just call a spade a spade. And a lot of them are bullshit. First of all, let's talk about all of the people in Asheville hosting ayahuasca ceremonies in their backyard. Just for the record, I worked with a shaman for 2 years, and she was trained by a real deal shaman who lived in the jungle in Brazil. If you know anything about the traditional beliefs and trainings of shamanistic practices, basically, you are not allowed to ingest ayahuasca unless you've been practicing the medicine for, she told me, 20 years. That was her teacher standard, but at least a decade. And now we're just handing out ayahuasca like it's, Gatorade. It's like fascinating to me what's happening. Sorry, I had to take a sip. And also, to that fact, you can get stuck in the process. You are excavating a lot of deep, dark shadow. Like, that's deep, dark shadow work. It's very rare that people go into that for the first time and have a positive experience. All of these ceremonies should have a trained therapist on board. And I don't mean just trained in their craft clinically. I mean trained to be working with that type of medicine. So I watched a documentary, and Gabor Mate does that. He fully believes that ayahuasca completely healed him of a lot of stuck trauma and talks about it candidly. You can find a million YouTube videos on it. And he has a crew of, he's one of the therapists, and then people that offer this as medicine. And it was an amazing documentary. It was a woman who was like a hardcore heroin addict for decades. And God bless her parents, would not give up on her. And she was homeless for the better part of her life. And this team came in, and Gabor Mate met with her, and it took a bit. She did regress. Like, she regressed into this like little girl, this little wounded girl. It was one of the best documentaries I've ever watched on addiction, because I do believe that plant medicine can help, but I also believe you need to be really logical and pragmatic and balanced about it. You can't just be going and handing ayahuasca to people because you live in Asheville and your backyard's really cool and you can make all this money off of it. I mean, give me a break. Sorry, not sorry. And it's such a disservice to the people who have been holding sacred ceremony for eons, right? It's like such a slap in the face that anybody thinks that they could just go and do this is crazy to me. And it's sacrilegious in its own right. And I think it's really important to talk about this. So I have an upcoming retreat, and it's not hoo-ha. I actually work best with like athletes and outdoor enthusiasts and gym rats. Most of the people that came to my really hard Sunday tough class at the yoga studio were male CrossFitters and military guys. They loved my class. I beat them up. I kicked their ass. They loved it. To the point where they had to make that class, my class, the last class on Sunday, because the floor was water. It was pure sweat. And I was so sick of cleaning up after these boys that we would hand them towels and I would make them sop up their own section. And then I would mop it up when everybody left. But what a kick-ass class. It was like a fitness yoga class. It was tough. I really worked people hard for that hour and 15 minutes. And that's not the heartbeat of yoga, but I was the only teacher capable or interested in teaching like a fitness-based yoga class, so I did it. And that's really not really yoga. But I have this wellness retreat coming up, and I am considering it a transformational experience because of my background as a language arts major and an educator and a writer. We're going to be doing some creative writing. I am going to hold ceremony, but it's not going to be like, listen, you want to come to my retreats and say fuck, like, say it. I don't care. We're going to have fun. We're going to play. We're going to laugh. We're going to be real people. Yes, it's going to be spiritual. It's very spiritually aligned. Yes, there's going to be depth and substance because I'm not a surface level person. We're going to have fun, and we're going to work with herbs, and we're going to play with the herbs, and we're going to kind of like have this intimate dance with them and make some sacred herbal medicine, some salves and some tea. Anyone who's been on a wellness retreat with me, we have fun. You know, this isn't an uptight, gongs at your head type of thing. And I'm not knocking it. That all has its place. I mean, I do love sound baths to an extent, but so if you're looking for this Uber, like, we're going to float on the 5D cloud because we're so much better than everybody else. You know, there's also something else that I want to say, and I think this is really valid. I had a girlfriend back in Jersey who had a lot of family dysfunction, and she had a lot of struggles with her dad. And I think, like all women who struggle with their father, you know, the father wound, and there's also the mother wound. She was seeking really strong, masculine, powerful men to kind of like fill that role. I'm not against Tony Robbins. I don't dislike him. I'm not like one of his gurus. I don't follow him. I don't, in particularly speaking, understand why people are so attracted. Like, it's just a guy who studied psychology, and he's like a giant, and I guess he's got a lot of charisma and a specific presence, so he's got a lot of gravitas, but not really my cup of tea, to be honest. But she paid like 15 grand and she went to this weekend. It's like, do you ever go to a concert and you're really lit up by the energy, right, of the music and the vibration and the frequency of the people, and then you come home and after a day or two it wears off? And I was like, dude, you're spending 15 grand to go see Tony Robbins, and you think that's going to change your life? Like, you think that's going to heal all of your father wounds and everything else going on? And like so many people, because I've met people that worked for Tony Robbins and have kind of admitted to me on the sly what it's really like. And she came home, and I guess she was on a high for a few days, and then it was like, life is normal. So no, you're not going to be transformed by any thing that you go to in a weekend. It is up to you to take the tools, take the skills, take the strategies, and embody them. I can't do that for anybody. It's transformational in what I am facilitating as the guide, but it's up to you to process, digest, integrate, and embody. I'm also probably going to create some type of online e-course that will be, and I might do it for this one, but I'm in this like huge transition and I have a million things going on, and I'm trying really hard to not do what I always do and take on a million things at one time, because I have that tendency, which I was just saying this to some dear friends of mine, which is 100%, I admit, a deep, deep trauma response on my end of like growing up in a home with an alcoholic parent, and then all the kids end up feeling like not worthy. You feel like you have to prove your worth. If you've never watched me before, or you've never visited my YouTube channel, if you go back to my older videos, I talk very openly. I'm like, I have nothing to hide. Like, what you see is what you get. And I had no self-esteem. I had no self-worth. I didn't know that. Now I know that. I look back and I'm like, oh my God, oh, wasn't she so cute? Like, I had no self-esteem. I had no self-worth. I did not see any value in myself. It's a journey. Nothing in a weekend was going to help kick that out of me. You have to be disciplined. You have to be consistent. You have to make a promise to yourself that you're constantly going to show up for yourself, and you have to do the work. So just as an FYI, for people paying $8 grand to go to a transformational weekend, it's not going to change everything overnight. It's not possible. It took me years and years and years. It's like being an archaeologist of your own life and excavating all of the bones and the ghosts and the skeletons of your past. And that, my loves, is up to you. But I have this amazing retreat coming up April 24th to the 26th, 2026, Kaluna Farm Retreat in Talking Rock, Georgia. The land is very sacred. I've been trying to partner with Megan for years. I am extremely excited about this. We're going to hike, creative writing, creative journaling, really. The setup, the lodging is kick-ass. It's, over 100 acres of organic farmland. We're getting a free farm tour. We're going to make herbal salves, herbal teas, so very hands-on, tactile, and just women gathering with other women and being very real and authentic. The yoga is hatha, which is like the basis of all yoga. It's like think of hatha as a big umbrella, and then all the other lineages go under the hatha umbrella. So I was trained in the tradition of yoga, the 8 limbs of yoga. So you don't have to be a rock star yogi. Nobody's getting into headstands. You don't have to rock your crow into chaturanga. It's not like that. This is like matching breath with movement and being very present with your body and experiencing all of those sensations and just moving through them. So it's more somatic and therapeutic in nature, if anything else. I am running a special, so if you pay in full, there's a nice generous discount. There's an early bird special discount. I am taking out an ad in the Atlanta area. I'm in the process of working that out now because my social media account was hacked over a year ago, and I ran my business off of Facebook. I did really well, and probably made a bad decision of staying off of Facebook for 5-6 months after my account was hacked, but I was really disillusioned and I kind of just wanted to take a break, and it was really lovely. It's like my 3rd time that I've been off of social media, anywhere between 6 months to a year. I don't love that we're so beholden to this to run a business, and I'm very stubborn, and it's probably hurting me if I'm being honest with myself and you all. And I need to get over myself, and I will eventually, but I don't have a big following. I made my Instagram account private, and I've gone down in numbers because I guess people are disillusioned that Carrie likes RFK Jr. so much. Whatever, it is what it is, and I love being an American, and I love being in America, so oh well. C'est la vie. See you, bye. So if you have any questions about the retreat, I am here to answer them. And I would love for this to fill up because I think it's going to be a great time. I have 2 lovely hikes planned. One of them is close by and very easy and more like forest bathing, meditative, gathering in nature type of hike, and the other one is going to be a little bit more challenging, and we will do that the Sunday that we check out. We will have a little bit of a drive to get there, but I think you're all going to really love this wilderness area. It's stunning and the views are amazing. So that's all I've got. I hope you have an amazing day, and I love you to pieces.